We'll call this meeting to order. Barbara, would you please call the roll? Here. Okay, we will convene a closed session. But before we do that, I handed out to all of the applicants. We do have a policy, which I didn't realize we had one. We do have a policy that we were supposed to have a subcommittee determine the eligibility of candidates. The eligibility of candidates is governed by Education Code 35107A. Well, it's all of it if you're an employee of the district. If you're not an employee, it's 35107A. Candidates, please take a look at that. If you do not qualify, please let us know. I suspect you all do, but we didn't have a subcommittee that looked at this to make sure that that happened. So self-certify if you would. Okay, we will convene to closed session. We'll be back in just a moment. From closed session. During closed session, the board took action to release a public employee pursuant to Government Code 54957. The motion was made by Board Member Hirota, second by Board Member Constant, and the vote was 4-0 in the affirmative, with all board members voting to release the public employee. Okay, item 3.1, Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll stand with me for the pledge. Okay, item 3.2, we've already announced action in closed session. 3.3, announcement of meeting protocols. Our typical meeting protocols will apply. Any complaints against individuals should be directed to the supervisors of those individuals. We will not hear complaints against individuals here at the board. We will have 3 minutes for public speakers, for public comment on items on the agenda, unless there are 10 or more that are turned in which case it will reduce to 90 seconds. Item 3.4, communications. I don't believe we have any communications today. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Pete Constant?
Yes.
Heidi Hall? Julie Hirota? Yes. Scott Huber?
Yes. Okay, item 5.1, governing board vacancy and candidate interviews. I did pass out to the candidates and the board members the qualifications pursuant to the education code. Is anybody not qualified according to the law and or wishes to withdraw their application? If so, please let me know. Seeing none, we'll move ahead. I will apologize. I did not know there was a board policy regarding, although we're in large part following it, but I did not realize there was a policy regarding eligibility. And what it says is the board shall interview the candidates at a public meeting, accept oral or written public input, and select the provisional appointee by a majority vote. What I would suggest is that we make it random. We've got all the names here, that we make it random, so there's just a random order. Each individual will come up in order. If you are the last one to go, for example, you can judge based on how much time it is that you've got. You don't have to necessarily hang around specifically, but my thought was let's pull the order, and then each, as it has been communicated to you, each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to make a statement. We'll have some questions. We may or may not have questions, but we may have some questions of you to inquire, and then we'll go through it that way. My thought is that we proceed to that point. Does that sound acceptable to everybody if we proceed to that point in that fashion? Is that good? Okay. The other, I'm sorry, one thing I left out. To make it fair, because you may get some questions that are, that to not give an unfair advantage to someone who's going later on in the process, we would ask that if you're a candidate that you not be in the room when others are answering questions. Makes it fair. You don't get an unfair advantage. If you're later on in the process, then you would know what all the questions are pretty much they're going to be asked. You're not required to. This is an open and public meeting, but we would ask you to do that. At least that's my request. I don't know if my board members would agree with that or not. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and pull. Who wants to please? We'll set the order here. Brian Richter, number 1. Jameson, number 2. Marla, number 3. Julie Sweeney, number 4. Nathan Matthew, number 5. Michelle Stansberry, number 6. Jonathan Zackerson, 7. Jason Walker, 8. Debbie Leong, number 9. Andrea Zimmerman, number 10. Rick Kimbrough, number 11. So that will be the order in which we will proceed. Candidates, again, we'd ask you to exit at this point. If you are later on in the process and you want to grab a cup of coffee, again, if you sort of judge a 5-minute speech and then a little question and answer. Let's call that maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes per person. If you're person number 10, you got about 100 minutes. So at least if my math is correct, and I think it is. Right. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, actually, I apologize. Let's do that. Let's take public comment first. I'm sorry. Barbara, I appreciate that. Let's take public comment first. This is a weird enough meeting that the normal protocols just go out the window. First will be Lisa Mendenhall. After Lisa Mendenhall will be Shemaine Phillips, and then Michelle Peterson. Yeah, you're number 4. I only announced 3 so people can be on deck.
Hi, my name is Lisa Mendenhall, Oakmont parent, and I'm here just to voice my support of the board in selecting a candidate who first and foremost has our kids' best interests at heart and is willing to stand up and make bold decisions for our kids. We know that over the past 2 years, it hasn't been easy as board members, and you guys have weathered the storm and really listened to your constituents here, both in the room and as a community. And so I thank you for that. And I want to make sure that as you select the new board member, that those qualities are considered, and selecting somebody who has been engaged in these processes these last 2 years and has seen the challenges that you guys have faced, and knows how to weather the storm and to always align with our kids' best interests. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Shemaine Phillips, then Michelle Peterson, and then Karen Compest.
Board members, today is an important day for the future of our district as continuous changes in legislation and Board of Education curriculum continue to drastically impact our children and the overall education they receive. Who you choose today as your fellow board member will be critical to the health of our district. A few board members ago, Pete, you mentioned that you would not choose someone from Granite Bay Roosevelt area, thus District 4. I certainly hope that's changed. I also hope that every member on this board is less focused on where the appointee comes from and more focused on who will be the best fit to fill Andrew's shoes and carry this board forward towards the future. Whether they run again in November should be of irrelevance. You were elected by the community to represent the students and the parents. You took an oath to the Constitution, not unconstitutional mandates, curriculum, or legislation that corrupt California continues to hand down by public entities or legislators. Since I've been involved, you've continuously made sure that our students' best interests and social emotional well-being stay at the forefront of your decisions. This should be your first priority for choosing today's applicant, along with someone who holds the same values as the current board and parent majority in this community. While working with the teachers is a clearly critical part to the success of this job, you're not here to serve them, their interests, nor be their voice. They have the RSEA and CTA for that. After reviewing the 11 applicants and attending numerous board meetings over the last few years, it was very clear who was the right fit for this board. I hope that you will agree that in addition to what I mentioned above, they should have children in the district, have experience and involvement with our board and schools, should support strong academics over controversial topics in politics, and they should not be a former employee or relative of district personnel to avoid conflicts of interest. It's a critical time in our students' lives. I hope that you will make your decision carefully by representing the wishes of the constituents who elected you, as even 8 months of the wrong fit in an appointee could have a dramatic impact on our kids. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Michelle Peterson, then Karen Compest, and then Nicole Young.
Hi, I'm Michelle Peterson. I have a graduating senior at Oakmont, and I'm thrilled. Thank you. The first thing I'd like to say is thank you to all the candidates. A lot of guts to come forward and volunteer out of the community. And also would ask that the board, when considering which one of these candidates they want to appoint, that they take into consideration their involvement, especially over the past 2 years. how often they were here in the board meetings, their own schools, how active they've been, as well as having students in the district. I guess I could basically say ditto and ditto to what Shemaine and Lisa said. Those are my thoughts on it. I think it would be great to appoint somebody that is going to go long term as well, that is not necessarily the only thing. There is going to be an open seat, so maybe that's part consideration. I do think it is important that they have the same values that you guys have worked so hard for over the past 2 years, with working with parents, teachers, the admin and everything through the district as well as the community. So I thank you again, and it has been a great, crazy ride. So thank you.
Thank you. Karen and then Nicole.
Afternoon. My name is Karen Combest, and I am a parent, a voter, and a taxpayer. I have a student in the district. She's a junior at Oakmont. And first of all, thank you for your service, and thank you to the candidates for putting your names in. It's you guys are in a really tough position today, and a really great position, and a position of influence and opportunity to find a good candidate that fits the needs of this district, Roseville Joint, right now for the time that we're at right now. So it's a tough position. I wouldn't want to be in your position, but you do have a responsibility to this, to your constituents, to those that you represent in the area. And I would just continue to ask that you put our students first. You know, we've been through a tremendous roller coaster over the course of the past couple of years, and Roseville Joint, and this board in particular, has always been the voice of the students. We've talked about how the students, and quite frankly, the parents don't have representation. The teachers have unions. So we are looking to you to be our voice, and more importantly, to continue to put the students first so that Roseville can continue to lead and to continue to break barriers. There's a lot coming in the next, I'll just say, year. There's new curriculum. There's new directives from the California Department of Education. There's things like school choice that'll be maybe a consideration. You know, there are so many things, some of which are politically charged, some of which are state and funding driven. And I just ask that you, again, put the students first and pick the candidate that can represent students and not politics. Don't use this as a stepping stone for their political careers. Aren't biased in any way, perhaps by being related to a member in the leadership committee, leadership teams, or have other connections. Somebody who truly has been involved, because you need to come in eyes wide open. If you haven't been to a board meeting, I think every board member would attest that, you know, it's and we're a good board. You guys are a good board, and it's been civil for the most part, but you need to have eyes wide open. So I would just ask you, put our students first. You find a candidate that can take this district and continue to take it to the top in the state. And I would prefer someone from Area 4 as a person, as a resident in Area 4. I think that's important, especially with the position being open. And we really haven't had someone from this side of town. So thank you.
Thank you. Nicole.
Good afternoon, board. And I also want to echo pretty much everything that these lovely ladies said. And I want to thank you. You guys have been groundbreaking in your efforts to put our students first in every decision that you've made. I've been highly impressed by the level of commitment that you guys have all shown. So I expect nothing less coming into this pick for an appointed board member. I also would prefer someone from Area 4. I think that living in the area would best represent the student body in that area. And I also would like you to heavily weigh and consider the values that this board has espoused since my children have been going to this school. I have a 2020 graduate, I have a senior this year, and I have an incoming freshman, and I have more little ones to follow. So we are in it for the long haul. So you'll be seeing quite a bit of me, I'm sure. But like Karen said, there's a lot of things coming down the line, and I have been so proud to be part of this Roseville Joint Unified High School District. And I would like a board trustee that sees parents as part of a working relationship and not classifying us when we come advocate for our children as domestic terrorists. So with that being said, I have full confidence that this board will pick the best trustee that will represent not only the values that you all possess and have shown us time and time again, but the values that we as a community espouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I also recognize there's one thing that I wanted to make sure, I think it's clear, but I want to make sure everybody knows. There are, in 2022, 2 areas up for election, area 2 and 4. So if a board member is appointed from area 2 and 4, you will have an opportunity to run again in 2022. If, because the position we're appointing you to expires in 2022. If you are not from area 2 or 4 and you're appointed to the position, you would not be able to run in 2022. You would have to wait until 2024 and run in whatever area you live. With that, any questions? If not, we'll dismiss the candidates except for, and I didn't write down the order because I was holding the bucket here, Ryan Richter. Right. Brian, come on up. And Barbara, you keeping the time? There's a trap door that opens up after 5 minutes. So if that's, if you go beyond 5 minutes, you're.
Hear me okay?
Yeah.
This is Brian Richter, been an active animal parent, coming to board meetings active since 2018. Had some experience in the past with other school districts. I worked for the California Department of Education, the School Facilities Planning Division, so I have a fair amount of experience with what it takes to get new facilities at schools and the process there. I have had some luck in Sacramento County, so I don't live in Placer County with the rest of the district. And getting first the crosswalks moved, high school, and then also as the vice chair of the Sacramento County Mental Health Board and the vice chair of the CPAC. So I bring, I think, some experience to this. And then that's all I have to say, guys.
Okay. Board members, why don't we start? Question?
Do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers in the educating our students as they carry out educational directives of the state and district?
Well, what I would do in that regard is I would go and I'd talk to students, teachers at the various high schools. I do some reach out, visit those schools, and see what they have to say, see what they want for support in that. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm here to listen. Listen, hear what they have to say, and then decide what it is based on California law, what we've done in the past that fits that.
Okay. George.
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well, and something that should be addressed or changed without delay, and how would you, as a trustee?
You know, I don't know that there is anything that this district does as far as addressing something that it would change. think things like that, and especially since I've got one school and I've got 3 kids that are going through it, and don't have experience in any other schools, it would be remiss for me to guess at what's out there. I think everything that we've been doing going forward as a district, we've been opening up more and more options. We need to continue to open up those options. We need to look at things where we maybe should be pulling back. What comes to mind for me is dual enrollment, which we should be opening up, and maybe the AP and the IB we should be pulling back. Because that costs a lot of money. It doesn't offer our graduates the same stability in terms of credit for college classes that it used to, or the dual enrollment does. So I think that with dual enrollment, we're doing that really well. Being part of the LCAP committee, I'm seeing that we have a lot of positive numbers with dual enrollment, especially in the demographics that we're concerned about. So I think we need to keep on that track.
Thanks. As you know, we have a pretty strong group of candidates, 11 people who have a varying degrees of expertise, both professionally and personally experience. What do you think makes you stand out or unique amongst the field?
I don't think there's anything about me that makes me unique, or necessarily especially stand out. I think the deal is that you got to pick somebody who is concerned, someone who's gone the distance in all sorts of arenas. You know, there's a lot of qualified candidates that have done it. So you got to pick that, and that's unfortunately your choice. So I just don't think there's anything that makes me exceptionally special.
So I had just as a follow up on some of these. You said communication right now is broken. I hear lots of people saying if you're not with me, you're against me. Is that sort of a general communication or a communication within the district?
I think it's a general communication, but it's also a lot of what I've been seeing. It's a lot of, if you're not on my side, then I want you to hell out. And, you know, the whole thing about our country, which has been referenced a lot in the past 2 years, is we're supposed to be in, where we come into conflict, and then we have some sort of compromise that gets us forward. It's not necessarily the best thing for me every time. It's not necessarily my favorite thing every time. I get to win sometimes, I have to lose sometimes. That's the way it goes. It's a give and take, push and pull, and we're not doing that in reference to that comment.
Thank you. Just a side note, I always find when I'm in negotiations and someone says, "Here's an offer, you know, settlement offer," and it's fair because I always know it's not even close to fair. Usually, what I find fair is everybody hates it, but everybody can live with it. That's usually what fair is. So,
Yeah,
Ryan,
there was one of our big California legislators had that. He's an idiot. That's a good person.
Any final comments?
No, just thank you for, you know, giving me the opportunity to apply.
Now that you have answered questions, you're not required to leave.
All right, thank you very much.
You're not required to stay either. This is not Cuba, but you can do it. Okay, number 2 is Robert Jameson. We'll grab Robert for us. Awesome. Jennifer, thank you. It is.
Okay.
It is on.
Awesome. Hey, I'm Robert Jameson. I live in Granite Bay, have 4 kids, and one is a senior, one's a freshman, and then a 6th grader, 5th grader. And I would say probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't super involved in any kind of politics and any kind of boards or any of that stuff. I didn't really know what it's all about. Over the last couple of years, I definitely have gotten more, I guess my eyes opened as far as how important it is that we get involved as parents and as community. over the last couple of years, I think with COVID, with all these other things that happened, I grew up in Texas, and with some of the political stuff that was going on in our state, I got text messages and phone calls from friends in Texas and said, "Hey, why don't you come back to Texas?" And so my wife and I thought about it a lot. We tried to look at what was the best thing for us, what was the best thing for the family. And every time I thought about leaving, I thought, this is our home. This is where we've established ourselves. This is where our family is. I have a brother that's in Rockland, a sister here in Roseville. And I would just get this pit in my stomach. And I woke up one day and I said, you know what? There's two options. Either I stop worrying about what happens in our state, or I start getting involved. And I'm an orthopedic surgeon. As a physician, I really started looking at the science of COVID and masks and all these other things that were coming through at that time. And some of these hot topic things, I think, obviously you guys were front and center in a lot of that with our schools. And so I decided, I need to start speaking or coming to these board meetings and finding out what it's about. If it's affecting our kids, then let's get involved in this arena here. So I started speaking at board meetings and was able to speak at a couple of them, and spoke the night that you guys decided to unmask our kids, and then had spoken some other ones, and really realized how important it is that we have a strong board that is the leadership of really our community and our students, and is the voice for our students. Like was said earlier, I feel that there are a lot of entities within a school district that has a voice, and the students are the ones that don't as much. And I think the parents to a certain extent as well. And I think as the board, we're the representation of our students and our parents. As I went to the other school districts, what I found is this RJUHSD was not only a board that stood up for what was right and had the courage to do it, but was the one that once you guys decided to do it, all the other ones followed suit. I've had the opportunity to work with youth for the last over 20 years, high school students mostly. And the high school arena, I think, is really where, as these kids grow up, is where it's most important that they get a good education. That this is their launching pad for the next steps of their life, whether it's college, whether it's technical institute, whether it's jobs, whether it's families, whatever it might be. These 4 years are critical in their development. And I think that especially as what we're seeing coming down over the next couple of years, it's really, really important that we have a school board that's willing to take on these hot topics and hit them head on, and have a group of people that are willing to do that and stand up for our students and stand up for our parents as well, and the values that have built our communities for so many years. I do a lot of work with medical and PA students, and a lot of students in this area. And what I've seen is before COVID happened and all these shutdowns happened, we had some amazing candidates for all these different spots. I take students every month, and over the last couple of years, I've seen a huge decline in their knowledge, because they've started even our medical professionals have been doing virtual learning, right? So it's now they're trying to come into a hands-on. Well, this is our health. This is, as a surgeon, for me, if I didn't learn science through medical school, if I didn't learn math through my undergrad to get me into the colleges, if I didn't learn the things I needed to, and it all ended up being a social justice or a reform from somebody and their feelings about what should happen, if my science teachers didn't teach me science, and I wouldn't be a surgeon that could do a good job as a surgeon today. And when you're asleep on a table, what you want are the best people to be doing that job, and people that have been taught the things they need to. Again, that's why I think as we get through high school, we have to make sure that math teachers are teaching math to our students, and science teachers are teaching science to our students. Again, from my standpoint, the board has the role and the responsibility to make sure that that's happening. And if I'm the one that's appointed and then elected in November, that's my goal, is to represent the students.
Thank you. Why not?
All right. How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
I think for me, it's finding out what the teachers need, what they want. And it's either sitting down with them or communicating with them person to person as a group, letting them know that we're here to listen, whether it's again individual discussions or whether it's with groups. But I think for me, I have to know what the teacher wants. I've been involved with groups and signal groups and text message threads with a lot of teachers that are on them that feel that their voices aren't heard either, even if they are in a union. So I think it's really important. But I think that's from where I sit, that's where I'd start, is talking. Yeah, thanks.
What is something specific that you think the district has kept doing well and something that should be addressed or changed without delay? How would you?
I think without delay, I think one of the things that's most important is the critical race theory and some of the things that are coming down here, especially this next school year and some of the things like that. I've seen some of the early things that they're putting through our teachers and mandating I think that's one of the most essential things that has to stop. Again, like I said, I think that science teachers were taught to teach science, and we have to get them back to teaching science. And chemistry teachers, and physics teachers, teaching that. If the state mandates us to have some sort of social justice reform within our schools, and we figure out how to do that, but it can't come from a physics teacher or from a math teacher. It's got to be regulated. So in my mind, that's one of the most critical things about business. I've just been seeing a lot of things. And then I also think, I guess, in stuff too, is I think the vaccine mandates are still there. These kids being able to make these decisions, and that may not be on the board side of things, but I think it is going to be somewhat pushed to us. These kids being the mandates that are totally against it with no science.
Thanks for coming. As you know, we have a pretty strong group of candidates, 11 people kind of spread out throughout the district. What would you say, particularly from the perspective of sitting behind the desk here making decisions, what makes you unique or stand out amongst the other candidates that we should be with?
I think a couple things. One is I have a lot of skin in the game. For kids that are at John Adams, but have the charter for that school. I look at the education that they have, and again, for me, it's being involved in their education as a parent, but also as a board member, I think we have that responsibility. So I have a big push to get involved from that standpoint. Also, as a physician, I understand what it is to have a physician. I think that, even if there is no such thing as school choice, I think that our high schools and our schools and our board governed over should be the best schools in the state, should be some of the best schools in the country, have some of the best families and the best communities in our state. And our schools need to continue to reflect that. So for me, it's about fighting for that, fighting for a good education. And I know what a good education can get you. Just like a lot of people, I didn't come from a lot, but I push myself. Education is what I have. This is the most important thing that we can give our kids. We got to get their scores up. We got to keep them reading. We got to keep them involved. We have to give the kids that want opportunities. They have to have the opportunities to excel as well. So those are the things that I'm doing. I feel passionate about it. I'm not going anywhere. This is where we're going to raise our family, and I think more than that too is I don't want just for my kids. I want this to be a place for my grandkids. My kids can say, "Hey, I only want to raise my kids." We have a great opportunity, but now is the time that we build it for our future.
If I may, you sort of alluded to it, but I just want to get clarified here. You said that if you're appointed, you would run in November.
I do love this.
I don't have any follow-up questions, and I just need time. If you have any final statements you'd like to make, please go ahead.
No, I just appreciate your time. Somebody asked me, they said, how are you going to manage time and why are you going to follow that? I don't think we have that time of saying, you know what, it's somebody else's responsibility. But we have to be involved in because all of our kids are working. We have to take the time to do it and be very
Thank you. Sure. But you have the same, you have the same, I guess, charge I give you as you're welcome to stay, but you're not required to stay either. So, up to you. Next is Marla Franz. Although I'm going to have Marla hold off before she begins. Marla's next. And then after Marla is, if I wrote down right, Julia Sweeney. Julia's next. Oh, would you do me a big favor? Let's wait. We've got someone taking a comfort break, as they call it in the pilot industry, which I'm not in that industry, but I get to be around them a lot. Okay. Okay, Marla, please. All right, you're up.
Thank you. My name is Marla Franz, and it's an honor to be standing here with the support of my family and friends. I'd like to share some personal background about myself. My father grew up on a ranch in a two-room house with dirt floors. With no running water or electricity until he was 13, when my grandmother finally couldn't take it anymore and demanded they move into town. My dad worked multiple jobs and put himself through college. My mom grew up with very little as well in a small town where she worked in the fields, picking strawberries and peas. All through high school, she studied hard, was valedictorian of the class, earned a full scholarship to Stanford. My education was everything to them, their springboard to success in life, and both emphasized my entire childhood how important it was to work hard and get a good education. I was expected to go to college. I went to an excellent public high school where in my graduating class, I had 9 classmates get accepted to Stanford. They were a cut above me, I'll admit. I have high expectations for my daughter's high school and the academic preparation I want both of them to receive before college. That's why I've been attending board meetings for the last 2 years and have never stopped. Why I care about the quality of the curriculum taught in our schools and why I'm standing before you right now. Even as I share all of this, I'm not singularly focused. My brother, a smart guy who had all of the same opportunities I did, took a very different path. He did not engage with school and ended up in an alternative high school. He joined the military for 4 years, and when he was out, he trained to be a mechanic. I'm proud of him as I watched him easily find new jobs whenever he wants and successfully supports his family with his work. Kids are unique, and despite all the same opportunities, their paths will look different. I want to see our schools in Roseville Joint Union High School District provide an excellent education and opportunities for all of our students, whether they are headed to a 4-year college, junior college, or training for a career. In my career, I was a problem solver. A very simple picture would be my need to balance the interests of my customer, my support department, and the resources I had access to in the engineering department. Probably sounds like a little bit like education. All 3 had different goals and interests, and they didn't always overlap seamlessly. Throw in an angry customer who wants instant results, and you can imagine my fun I had. I bring to the table a diplomatic nature. I have an inclination to think about the bigger picture and appreciate how different groups may be protecting their own interests when working through problems. I am not afraid to ask questions. I have ideas, as it's important to frequently evaluate when you could be doing something more effectively. I appreciate excellent service and will see opportunities to better serve our community. Reading over the school board bylaws, I was humbled at the immense responsibility and privilege it is to provide leadership and citizen oversight of our public schools. My thoughts drifted to a question I think everyone in the district should ask themselves. Who is your customer? Meaning, who are you trying to please? Who determines you are doing a good job? People will legitimately have different answers. I think the Board of Trustees may be the only people that would and should include parents at the top of that list. That's why you are so important to all of us. It's why all of these people are here as you select a new trustee. If I'm selected for this position, my customer will be the parents, and by serving them, I will be advocating for our kids. By serving the parents, I will also advocate for the teachers and others in the district because we need well-run schools for our students. I am not seeking to use this appointment as a stepping stone for something bigger. My family's income is not dependent on any government or educational entity. I do not have conflicts of interest. I want to be a voice for my community. And I look forward to answering all your questions. Thank you.
How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
One thing that I have found to be interesting since I've transitioned to high school is there's no vehicle for me to get into the school very easily, just as a parent. So as a board member, I hope I have a little bit, or if I was chosen, I would hope I'd have a little bit more accessibility, but I would love to sit down and meet with, I would sit down and meet with anyone who wanted to. I would be open to having monthly coffee talks. I come up with an M rhyming, I don't know. I truly, my mom was a teacher, and I truly sympathize with them during this time because I know it's been hard. I would love to try to be a advocate to understand what their challenges are, balanced with the students and the teachers. I'm open for anything. Sure.
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed or changed for that delay? And how would you as a trustee address this?
Reading over the bylaws, I appreciate that as all the authority comes with the board as a whole. And as a single person, I believe I can ask questions. I can't dictate. I can't make change unless everyone else agrees. So I feel like I might need some understanding about what sort of role a single person can have. I think improvements, which I have already mentioned in my application, is I, as a parent, am concerned about the curriculum changes that I see coming down the path. I have tried to be involved with SILT twice and wasn't, not involved full, couldn't. I worry about the learning loss with needing to balance with rigor. All the math changes that are coming through. So changes that need to be implemented immediately, I think there needs to be a hard look at maybe I'll focus on math right now, a hard look at how successful our math is right now versus what the state is proposing. I know I've heard that we're going through a rewrite already. I don't know if that's the right thing. I would love to have a good analysis on whether it is. I worry about ethnic studies. You know, I don't want division in the schools. I'll just not say it. So I think there's a lot of curriculum things that we need to be focused on right now. What we're doing well, my daughter loves the camaraderie and all of her activities and her coaches and her teachers. And I think we have a real bright spot with the quality of staff we have in all of our schools. And I would love to try to make sure we keep that. I worry because I know you've lost people and there's been just a real drain the last 2 years.
Well, as you know, we have 11 candidates, pretty much all pretty strong candidates. What do you think makes you individually unique or stands out amongst the others?
I have been actively participating in the Regents Board meetings as well as these board meetings for almost 2 years. I have watched your struggles and I've watched your successes and issues. I see the dynamics with how administration works with you, the teachers, with the teachers coming in to share their perspectives the last couple of years. While I have strong opinions, just like in my work, I appreciate there are always different sides to every story, to every challenge. And I think I can take a stand back and look at everyone's perspective reasonably well and diplomatic. I know you've heard me at board meetings and seen me at board meetings, and I don't think you've ever seen me go crazy. And regardless of what I think, I'm always kind, and I just try to communicate my point well, but with kindness. My mind, because that means I just got my point across, but in a very nice way. And I think that's an asset to you. I realize there's a lot of behind the scene things that are happening that I will have to learn, but I'm not going in blind. That I've thought about this hard because I have seen what's been going on for the last 2 years. It's a big deal to volunteer to serve this way, but I think it's an asset. I would be an asset.
Just one more brief question. If you were to be appointed to this position, would you run for this position in November?
Part of my decision to put my hat in the ring now felt like I needed to be willing to run for that. There's an investment of my own time, of the district's time. I read your bylaws, there's training, there's things that you do to help get a board member up. And it would be a disservice to my community to not be willing and open to do that. I hope you would consider your position on requiring someone to not run as the top line factor to decide if someone's qualified. I know there's a number of people here that are qualified, and I hope that you're not eliminating people.
Marla, I don't have any follow-up questions. There's no final statement.
I don't. I've laid it out. I've tried to be in myself. I was straightforward in my questions and my answers on you're gonna hopefully choose the right person. Thank you.
Thank you. You are free to stick around if you want. Marla, you don't have to leave. Julia Sweeney's next. And then next is Nitin Matthew. Julia, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Okay. Give us your 5-minute solicitation.
Members of the Roseville Joint Union High School Board. My name is Julia Smee, and I am proud to apply for this vacancy as a graduate of this school district. And in fact, a former student representative on this very school board. That was in 2007, 2008 when I was student body president at Roseville High School. And I do think that was President Scott Huber's first year on the board.
It was my first term as president.
Yeah. So very, very exciting. So fast forward 15 years, this feels very full circle. And I am applying now to serve on this board as a mother, a community member, an alumna, an education technology expert, and an educator. And what I hope to bring to the school board is that perspective. My commitment would be as a school board member, I think about those values and what I want for students. The three things that come to me over and over is that I want our students to feel safe, I want them to be supported, and I want them to be set up for success when they leave our schools. So I want to walk you through a bit about me as a candidate, a little bit about my experience working in education, my specific areas of expertise within the education realm, and what I hope to bring. So, my experience. When I graduated from this very school district, I went to University of the Pacific, and I worked in the Office for Services for Students with Disabilities. I tutored in our local school district, and I conducted undergraduate research on the effectiveness of different policies for English language learners in the state of California. I went there and I learned about the education system, and specifically the importance of providing an equitable education to all students. I then became a teacher myself. I joined Teach for America and was placed at a charter school that was offering parents a different choice in the community. I taught middle school ELA and social studies, and I loved it. I started our first Scholastic Book Fair. I planned trips to the public library. I helped build our first on-campus library. I loved instilling a love of literacy and history in my students. I then took that love of education and being in the classroom, and I started working at Teach for America's Training Institute, where I was a school manager, and I shifted my focus to school logistics and staff culture. And all of that was happening around the time that states were pivoting to new standards and an online state testing system. And there was this huge need for teachers to have technology-enhanced assignments and assessments. So I started working as a content writer for EdSite, developing state-aligned materials aligned to English language arts standards and social studies standards. That position then grew into professional development, working with teams around high-quality assessment building, understanding the technology of these new generation assessments, and how to effectively use data to drive instruction. I have worked in the EdTech space for more than 8 years now, and my current role at EdSite is spent working with administrators, curriculum specialists, SPED coordinators, teachers, staff members across districts. And I work with them on assessments for learning and responding to data across all of their systems. That's where a lot of my expertise lies. I know education technology. I know curriculum, I know professional development, I know data protocols. And specifically, I also know the vendor side of things, so I know where we can save some money. I know a lot of people think of education technology and they just think distance learning because we just went through a pandemic. But education technology is everything from how we protect student information to the hardware that is in our students' hands. Education technology is an essential part of our school systems today, and it is only going to become more important as we prepare students for the jobs that don't even exist yet. So I think specific expertise would be something that I could bring to the school board and offer. So that is a bit about me. I know this community, born and raised here, raising my own daughter here. I know our schools, and I'm all in for students. So I look forward to answering any questions and providing any additional information. Thank you.
Julia, how do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers in the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is probably one of the most important jobs, is reaching out to our stakeholders, and teachers are such an essential stakeholder. And so as a former teacher myself and someone who's leading PDs, working with teachers all the time, I think I would make it a priority to understand their needs, to be very proactive, looking at what's coming soon, what changes are happening next school year, what new curriculum is being implemented. If we've got a new science curriculum coming in, or, connecting with science department heads intentionally, making sure they feel they have enough resources for the NGSS alignment. So I feel really comfortable reaching out to teachers, talking about the everything that is our education system. And I also want to make sure teachers know that I've got their back. We're all in here because we want to help students. And I think that that is no truer for anyone besides our teachers who are there every day teaching our
Something specific you think the district does exceptionally well, and something that should be addressed or changed without delay, and how would you address this?
Yeah, great question. I like that you asked both of them together, what's exceptional and what can we change, because I think that that's important to always have in mind. What's working well that we keep doing, and what are the adjustments to get even better? And for me, this district does so well. When we look at the indicators on the California dashboard, let's say, we look at the performance overall of this school district versus the state. Roseville shines. Our ELA scores are significantly better than the state averages. But then if we look at some of our student subgroups, we don't seem to be having that same rock star results with all of our students. And so for me, I know that we've already identified areas of growth. They're in the LCAP, the things that we're working on. And those are the things that I think we would continue to be intentional with. We need to make sure our students with disabilities are graduating at a better rate, that they're getting what they need and they are being prepared for career in college, moving out of our schools. English language learners, when we look at some of our indicators and we're looking at those red and orange areas, you can look at the top of the dashboard and see Roseville Joint Union High School District doing very well. Green, blue, yellow sometimes on some of them. Yeah, but then you go down to the subgroups and you can see a big disconnect. So for me, I want to celebrate the success we are having overall, but really tune into some of the areas like increasing co-teaching. I know that's something that we're doing in the district. Improving professional development around that universal design for learning. I think that's a fantastic idea. And so those are areas that I want us to continue to invest in, so all of our students have a
See you again. We covered this, but I'm going to ask you to focus just a little tighter. We have a strong group of candidates. You've seen 11 folks with different backgrounds, but all pretty strong backgrounds. What makes you specifically unique and makes you stand out amongst the others?
Yeah, thanks. Great question. One of the things that I think makes me unique, there's a few things that I'll outline here, but the first one is that I went through our schools. No one can tell a student how much a good school program has impacted their life than the student who had that impact. So having all of the different sports opportunities, educational opportunities, and different experiences as a student, know what it's like to go through our system, which I think is a unique perspective. It's very unique also to be a student board member on the school board. But beyond just like being local and being from here, I think my experience in education technology is a really big deal. And the fact that I've seen it from an educator's perspective, I've seen it from supporting school administrators, district administrators. When we're talking about accessibility, when we're talking about cybersecurity, personally identifiable information, that's my wheelhouse, and that is going to become even more important. And I would love to be able to bring that expertise as a school board member.
I have no follow-up questions, but I will say, if you would have told me in 2008 that that senior from Roseville High School sitting right over here
Yeah.
was someday going to be standing there to become a board member, I would have said.
Well, it says something good about the district when that does happen. So,
So I'll give you an opportunity to make any final comments.
I think I'll just close by saying, I'm raising my daughter here with my husband because I love this community and I am so excited for her to grow up and be in Roseville. And, I think that also is just another thing that further invests me. She's very young. She is turning 9 months. But I can't wait and can't believe that one day she will also be a high school student. Thank you.
The days are long, but the years are fast.
I believe it.
So enjoy those, and I miss those. Julia, thank you very much.
Thank you. And should I go back out or please?
You can hang out.
Okay.
Yep. You're welcome to stay. As I said to the others, you're welcome to stay. You are also not required to stay.
Okay.
This isn't Cuba, so if you want to stay, that's great.
Thank you.
They used to be able to say this is the Soviet Union, but then they blew apart, and then you can't say that anymore. You gotta be careful. Yeah. That's right. Nathan, come on over. Did you pronounce that right? Yes. Nathan? Perfect.
Yeah, earlier when you were drawing the names, you guys like nailed it. I was like, wow, all right.
Oh, good.
When my
You may begin whenever you like.
cool. Thank you for taking the time to meet with all of us applicants and for the public service you provide. Wanted to start just kind of by telling you a little bit about myself. From a family that values education a lot, but I was the first person in my family to graduate college when I graduated from San Jose State University. I've always felt compelled to serve the public as my family immigrated here. They came from a country that didn't have quite the opportunity that our beautiful country has. And my family found quite a lot of success here. So I always wanted to give that back in any way I can. So I started by just working on various political campaigns. So that's what I did for the last 15 years throughout the state of California. Give me kind of a appreciation for California constituents. Lend me to a deep understanding of concerns in our community. Through various jobs, I currently now work at the state capitol as a senior advisor to the minority leader in the state assembly. I also work for the California Republican Party, specifically on state assembly campaigns. After my wife and I got married, we knew we wanted to have the right community to raise our family. So we moved here to Roseville, and we were blessed with a baby boy a year ago this month. Which kind of leads me to my why of being interested in the school board. I would say many decisions that are made by the board will have impacts for years down the road. Any parent will tell you, once you have a child becomes the why for every action a parent takes. Another reason was there's a lot of interest in school boards throughout these past couple of years, and I thought you guys did a particularly successful job, and I'm interested in kind of continuing that and working with you. For the way I see it, in terms of my operating principles is, I believe in working together with parents, students, the board, and teachers. We kind of have to take a comprehensive view of any problem that we may face to tackle that. My goal in serving is to kind of play this small role in transition from this large to from how we have the districts from at large to by district. I know we all believe in democracy, and I know there's a few different outlooks on it. My personal thing is I am from Area 4, but I think it would create an advantage if someone from Area 4 were to run for re-election. So I'm committed to not running for election in 2022 because I think that would if we have a person that's committed to not doing that from area 4, that will create a more fair election without an undue influence by the appointment. Another goal I have is just kind of the changing demographics. This community is constantly changing and stuff, and it's just something that I have like a interest in just understanding how we continue to address that while keeping our kind of core goals that we've been building in this community. I think what Roseville has done so far is just so incredible. So I want to continue that. And I'd like to close by saying, thank you for this opportunity, and good luck to all the other 11 applicants, or in this 6 or 10. So I'll say good luck to them afterwards.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate it.
So how do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question. Ultimately, I like to think of large problems first by scaling it to individual purposes. And so I think of from an individual teacher perspective. I think a happy teacher creates a happy classroom, a happy student population. And ultimately, we're all here for the students. We exist here for the students. So teachers play a critical role in that. In whatever way we can help the students and to make sure that the teacher is set up for success for the students, that's the approach I'd like to take. Of course.
Question, what is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed and changed without delay, and how would you as a trustee address it?
So I think particularly well, and obviously I haven't heard the other answer, but I can imagine that a lot of people said this is, the way that we dealt with this unprecedented circumstance these past 2 years, where the state was shutting down without even understanding what shutting down was, and it pushed this board, but not just this board, really every business, every parent, every single person on the planet to react. And I think some people reacted well, and some people reacted slower. And I don't necessarily blame that because it was an unknown time. But I think one thing we did well at this board was the quick reaction to fast-moving information. And then in terms of what we I don't know if it's called improving, but I like the direction that we're going to by districts. And I think that's fantastic, but I think it's got to be kind of done correctly. So that's why I'm kind of compelled to not only apply but then also commit to not running.
Thanks for coming. Good to see you again. We have, you mentioned 11 candidates, all pretty strong resumes and backgrounds. What do you think makes you unique or stand out amongst the crowd?
I don't know the crowd that well. I'll be honest, I did not understand that I could be fans of applications. It seems like everybody else may have gotten that jump on me. That's fine. I'll stand on what I believe makes me kind of unique in a lot of sense. I spent a lot of time crafting policy at a macro level, and I think that is a unique skill set. And then I think also the fact that the way I'm going to be approaching this is, like I said, my child is 1 year old. I look at kind of school board actions and how it's going to be impacted for the decades to come. As if we're blessed, we have more children, and it would all come through the school district. That's, to me, that is and there's other people that have young children, but to me, that's how I'm going to be approaching it. I'm not sure if everyone will be approaching it in a multi-decade outlook.
I actually was just going to follow up and ask you who you work with. You told us you're a senior advisor to Assembly Member Gallagher, the minority leader?
Correct. I work for the caucus, the minority caucus,
Sure.
so I serve at the pleasure of the leader, Leader Gallagher.
Well, take a moment, give us your final thoughts and anything else you'd like to share.
Final thoughts, I would say I'm very excited to live in this community. People before us have created a wonderful community, and I hope to continue that. I appreciate everything you all have done, and appreciate this community, and let's keep it this wonderful place for many more families in the future.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next is Michelle Stansberry. Take a comfort break.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Roseville Joint Union School Board, fellow applicants, and all in attendance. My name is Michelle Stansberry. I am a wife and a mother of 4 daughters. My oldest daughter graduated from Granite Bay High School in 2013. I currently have a sophomore, their incoming freshman, and then 2 years later, another incoming freshman. So as you can see, my family and I are well vested in this district. My kids will be in the district for the next 6 years. My husband moved, after losing his first wife, my husband moved to this area 23 years ago as a single dad. He moved here specifically for the school district. Although our oldest daughter ended up attending private school at Sacramento Country Day for a number of years, she returned to attend Granite Bay High School, where she graduated with an IB diploma in early acceptance to Dartmouth College. She graduated from Dartmouth in 2017. My oldest daughter set the tone for our younger girls and proved that my husband made a good decision to move here 23 years ago. We've really appreciated and enjoyed being a part of this community, especially being that I was born and raised in San Francisco inner city, and that the opportunities that my daughters have been afforded were much different than what was available to me. My family and I attend Bayside Church, where we volunteered over the years in many different capacities. I am currently a small group leader for a group of 10th grade girls at Granite Bay High, at Bayside. I also served on the board for the Johnson Ranch Barracuda swim team before my daughters went year-round. And on Fridays, you can find my husband and I in our favorite local restaurant, Sushi Omakase, having dinner and getting to know people in the community. We have open and candid discussions, especially within the last 2 years. It's like our cheers. It's a great way to connect with other parents in the community. I earned my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration at San Francisco State University. I've been blessed to have served in the federal government for almost 30 years in September. I'm currently a customer service director in our customer accounts and stakeholder engagement division. My husband and I are also small business owners. We own a fitness franchise, Orange Theory Fitness Elk Grove. We travel over there once a week, but I love it. We're also members of the Elk Grove Chamber. I'll be honest, although I typically prefer to operate in a supportive role, it rarely happens. I've served as a leader in public and private sectors as well as my home for many years. I manage interpersonal relationships well and know how to draw boundaries. My why. My daughters were born and raised in this community, in this district. My husband and I have worked very hard to keep them centered and focused on their academics and athletics while upholding strong Christian values. We constantly assure them that nothing can hold them back from success except for their willingness to try. I am deeply concerned about the worldviews and social movements that are creeping into the schools in our country. Although I'm intentional with my girls at home, it's important for parents like myself to get involved, to make sure that the values and beliefs of this community are upheld within our schools. I don't have a ton of experience to all of this. I've actually never attended a board meeting in person. That needs to change, that will change. But the only way for me to affect change and have an impact is for me to be involved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Right, I'll start with the questions.
Okay.
How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
We talked a little bit about going to the schools and interacting and speaking with the teachers. I think that's exactly what I would do. Although, again, I haven't been involved in the board or anything like that, I basically typically speak to teachers on a regular basis. You know, there are different things that have gone on, my daughters at their schools, and from teachers to principals to counselors. I like to take a holistic approach and have everyone involved. And so I just spoke with, I'm in the Eureka School District as well. I have two there. Just spoke with the teacher and principal last week about a specific situation. So I would approach it directly. Give them a call, give them a ring and say, hey, can we have tea, or can I stop by?
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed and changed without delay, and how would you, the trustee, address it?
I said it in my application. I think the reputation of the district precedes itself. I meet so many people that move here specifically for this district and say that I was paying the education that my children are getting here, I was paying for that in the Bay Area. So I think that is happening exceptionally well. As far as something that I guess would need to be addressed, I am not aware of the curriculum going on within our schools, but I do know some of the things that are being shared with the students. And so I think having an eye on, as you all do, the curriculum that's coming into our school, different thoughts and views of teachers, what they're saying to the kids in the classroom, and this is coming directly from students. I have a student that I speak with that, I don't know how we combat that, but I think that's something that definitely needs to be addressed. I don't feel that teachers should be giving the students their political views in the classrooms or holding their views against them, and I know that's happening.
Thank you very much. As you know, you're one of 11 candidates for one position. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at all the applications, but we had a really good group of people applying. Can you share with us maybe one or two things that you think makes you unique or stand out amongst the crowd?
One, honestly, it may not be favorable, is that I'm a parent that I'm very strategic about my children's education, but historically I haven't been involved. And there's a large group of parents that need to be involved that aren't involved. And we need people who are on the board and people who are really concerned morally about this to nudge us and to say, hey, I see you. I see how you live your life. I see what you're doing with your children. You need to get involved. And so I think I'd be, number one, an advocate of that. Number two, I would say back to our Friday conversations, I think in order to get to know people and understand them, I'll call it having a seat at the table. And so, again, when we're out on the balcony, over at Sushi Omakase, having dinner, it's a great way for me to have an opportunity to talk to people who may not be involved, but have a lot of opinions about what's going on, but like myself, are just kind of managing things from our homes and not necessarily part of the overall community as far as the district.
And one final question, as you know, this appointment is just until the next election. Is this a position that you would anticipate running for this seat in the coming?
So I think it'd be a great opportunity to get in and understand the position. Again, like I said, I'm very new to this, but of course open and receptive to learning, and I think I would definitely consider it for sure.
I just wanted to follow up on you, for the federal government, your customer service, is that what you said?
Director, yes.
Customer
I
service
manage a
director.
territory.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Which division of the federal government?
So U.S. General Services Administration.
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, the landlords and you put products and services in spaces.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
I was just curious which federal
Yeah.
government. We'll take a moment and share anything with us, you know, in your final comments that you'd like to, that you'd like us, you know, we haven't shared already, or take a moment and just wrap up.
Okay. Well, I really just want to thank everyone for your time and attention. Again, I'm a concerned parent. I've had, all of my children have benefited from being in this district, and I really just want the opportunities, like I said, that were afforded to them to continue as other children come to the district, and really as my children come to the district. And then also just be more involved, be more present in the decisions that are being made at the school board level. So I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll have Jonathan Zackerson. We'll take a maybe a 2-minute break. go ahead and find little hey, just a reminder we're coming. All right, Jonathan, we will go ahead and reconvene here. Take it away.
I was told to speak really close to this. Is good? It's good?
Sure.
All right. Well, or maybe I should stand further away. So yeah, Jonathan Zackerson. I know we've got to know each other over the last 2 years. So I'll be brief in my comments here, but share a few things that maybe you don't know about me. I have 3 kids in the district, two seniors at Wood Creek, one of those which gives me a run for my money. I'm sure it gives the district a run for their money as well.
Just one?
But well, just one of them. And just one of them, yeah. The other 2 are not bad. So, I have a freshman at West Park. I have my wife. She is pregnant. She is due in about 2 months, month and a half. So, professionally, I worked 20 plus years in professional service environment. Was director for a market research firm. Worked for a public accounting firm where I got my CPA, and I'm now a finance manager for a healthcare company. So, before I talk about why I applied, I'll talk a little bit about what I would hope to see in a candidate. One is I would like to, I think they should have been involved in the last couple of years in some capacity. I think that commitment and grit is important. I think having kids in the district is important. Or these kids that will be in the district is important. I think that adds skin to the game, into the game. We know how great you guys get paid to that, so it's important, I think, to have kids in the district. Professional, competent. I think everyone on that list meets that category. And then also, I would say live in District 4. I think that's important. As you probably ever learned, it takes several months to get your feet wet. And so having that experience, at least the opportunity to have that experience going in and have that continuity in the district and have run in the fall, I think is important. Now, with that said, I'm actually not in District 4. So I know that you may disagree with me on that issue, and so if so, I'm willing to provide that service for the next 8 months. I will not be running in the fall, but ultimately I do hope to pick someone that is in District 4 to give them that opportunity to learn, work within the district, and have that opportunity.
Thank you. Please.
All right, Jonathan. How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
Well, I like getting to know everyone, and so anyone who's willing to talk to me, I'll talk to them. With some of the activities over the past 2 years, I've been very open on social media, doing lives. I would do town halls regularly, so anyone is welcome. Anyone in the community, any stakeholders, including teachers, and my phone and email would be open to anyone who wants to have a conversation. And especially would like to reach out to some of the teachers and some of the labor representatives to get a better understanding of what their needs are and try to make everything work for everybody. If we can.
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed and changed without delay? And how would you, as a trustee, address this?
Well, I think a lot of things go well. I mean, this board works well together, which is another aspect of, I think, of equality of a candidate you want to this. I think diversity of opinion is great, and I think we need that. At the same time, we want someone who can add value instead of maybe add conflict. So going to the board member. So I think that how well that the board works today is something positive. Something to work on immediate. I don't know if I'd say there's something that's like a hot button right now we have to address. I guess it depends on what some of those are. In just an application itself, it sounds like maybe there's wanting someone who can address maybe some communication issues. I personally feel that communication has been well, at least to parents, but maybe in other avenues that can be improved. I know personally, the curriculum options at West Park is not as open. Obviously, that's limited just based off the size. My daughter reminds me of that frequently now. How much she wants to go to a different school with different options. But yeah, there's nothing I would say that stands out that immediately needs to be addressed. But those are a couple of things that come to mind.
Standing out. That's part of my question here. Well, first, good to see you again. As you mentioned, we have 15 candidates, all well qualified by all of them. Do a great job sitting behind the desk making decisions. What makes you individually unique, or has you stand out amongst the crowd?
Well, I'd say a couple things. Again, just the involvement over the past 2 years. Provide a CPA, provide some finance background. I would say that on a particular avenue, right, when it comes to deciding where the trustee lives, I do not live in District 4, and I also do not plan on running. So if that's a factor, whichever way the board goes, that would be some of those things to consider. But like I said, I've been, you are aware of my involvement for the last 2 years. I continue to be involved whether or not I'm appointed to this board. Continue to be involved in November in other aspects of the community, and so to keep going in that area.
Well, there is an election in your area, so you could.
There is, but they're also. Well, no, you're right. You're right. But I would not, because there are qualified candidates already. And frankly, this is of course. What's that? That's a debatable term, I guess. So I mean, right? I'm if there was already a position, like you said, I'm up here, putting my name in there for service for the next 8 months, advocating for a different district area, right? So I'm wanting to help out in any way I can, and so if I'm willing to help out for these next 8 months, that's what I like to do. But ultimately, I think we're in good hands as it is, and I'd like to find someone in District 4 that can have that opportunity for continuity and serve the community.
Jonathan, I don't have any other follow-up questions, but take a moment and give us your final thoughts.
Well, just it's been surreal, I guess, these last 2 years, and it's been great getting to know every single one of you. I continue to work with you no matter what capacity at this end, whether it's a trustee or as a parent. Like I said, I have kids in the district. I'm going to be involved here in this district and in the community for months to come. So I look forward to whoever you choose and supporting them.
Appreciate it. Next is Jason Walker.
Board, members of the public, I'd like to thank you for having me here today. It's an honor to speak with you all and put forth my case. Why am I up here? Well, just a little bit about me. My name is Jason Walker. I am kind of from all over the place. I'm a military brat, so I can't really claim one place or another. But primarily, I grew up in the Antelope area, and currently living in the Dry Creek, close to the Dry Creek area of the district, which includes Dry Creek and Antelope. I'm a husband, proud father of 2 children, 2 hopeful students in the district, and therefore it means a lot to me. It means a whole lot to me to get in on the ground floor and make sure that that we maintain a firm and solid foundation for them to enter into. I come from a military family, a family of educators. My mom was a middle school teacher for over 20 years. As in addition to growing up in Antelope, I grew up in my mother's classroom, helping her with grading papers. Instead of spending time with me, I was spending time with her, helping her with her work. But I was glad to do it. I learned a lot. I had to learn to be good at history and English. So don't look at my math homework from that time, but I definitely wrote a mean term paper. I went to college, graduated from Sac State with a bachelor's degree in Spanish, with concentration in education. I thought I'd follow my mother into the teaching profession, and seeing some of the trials and tribulations she went through, the squeeze from both ends, I was like, oh, I don't know. Let me see what this is like. I was working in banking at the time, so I tried my hand in the banking field. Was very successful throughout my time in banking. I still found a way to be involved in the educational system. Did financial literacy courses for high school students, got involved with local schools, did presentations. So the education bug never quite left me. When I left banking, I went into law enforcement and worked in the criminal justice system, worked in corrections, worked in investigations, both locally and in the Sacramento County area. I've worked as a school resource officer at another school district because that education bug never quite left me. So you see, all this time, I've enjoyed working with students. I've enjoyed working with this age group because so much happens during these high school years. It's such formative years, and it's important to have good role models and good adult people that these young people can turn to for advice, for just to see how we handle worldly issues, COVID, work, all the pertinent matters that present themselves as we turn into adults. When I left the law enforcement field, I entered the higher ed field, and I'm now acting counselor for a higher ed institution. And I've continued my foray into education, mentoring, counseling students, bringing them into college, and ensuring that they walk across that stage at the end of their term. I have a passion for helping people grow, for helping them find positive change, for helping them achieve their goals. No one comes into high school, or no one just comes into school thinking, I'm gonna leave and just lay on my mom's couch. Well, I guess some people might, but that's what I want to do is nurture people away from that goal and into productive goals. And as a school board, we provide schools with the tools to create productive citizens, to create happy citizens, create citizens who will contribute and better our communities. Education is a tool by which we create a better community. I want to achieve this through ensuring preparedness for post-secondary education and for career technical education. In my positions in higher ed, I've worked with students who are going into vocational fields and career tech ed fields straight out of high school. Help students go into career fields that are insanely complex, like medical school, law school. And throughout all of this, students need invested adults who will be on the lookout for their needs and who will be on the lookout for their parents' needs, because a good parent wants what's best for their children. A good parent wants their child to be well educated, happy, successful. And I think by listening to the thoughts, and because parents know their children a lot better than we do, so by listening to their input and also listening to the input of teachers working together, we can achieve the goal of producing well-contributing citizens. When I returned to the education field, it wasn't as a teacher as I expected at one point, but I've maintained a love and appreciation for this age group and for the transformative opportunities that we have at this level. And as a member of the board, I would use all my experiences to benefit students, to produce wonderful, productive, and happy citizens. And it would be an honor to be a part of such a team.
All right, I'm going to start with a question for you. How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
So being a presence, being a visible presence, being someone who has an open door policy, who will communicate. Teachers have their needs and their concerns. They also have experience with our students, direct experience, and they see what's going on from being directly involved. They're in their classrooms, they're seeing things from the ground floor, so to speak, and being someone who will listen to their concerns, their needs, and ideas. Having that open door policy would allow me to hear whatever needs that they present. It's going to allow us to be receptive to feedback and find out what works and doesn't work, and in the end, hopefully provide a better classroom environment for them and their students. Thank you for having me.
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well, and something that should be addressed or changed without delay, and how would you as a trustee address it?
One thing I know this district does well is produces quality graduates. In my work in higher education, I have had students from Roseville High School District come across my desk, and they come in exceptionally prepared. They tend to have higher grade averages in their college and university classes, and adapt well to the college environment. So I would definitely like to continue that tradition. In terms of what needs to change, it's hard to identify what needs to change because I see a lot of positives coming out of this district, but in the broader view of the educational system in California, I think we need to continue to be leaders. We need to be cautious about falling into trends that are becoming popular in some areas of the state. And as a top tier school district, I think it's more important that we lead by example than follow the examples of less successful school districts.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
As you know, we've got a pretty good crop of candidates, 15 applicants, one position. Oh, 11. Did I say 15? I said that last time, and nobody corrected me.
Well,
It's the 4 extra voices in my head. So, it happens. Wait till you've been sitting here for a while.
I see them too. It's going to be okay.
Anyway, so there's only 10 other candidates in you. Here with us, you feel makes you amongst them unique, or makes you stand out amongst the crowd?
Well, had the pleasure of meeting a few of the candidates, and there's some wonderful people I'm competing against, and I wish them the best. In terms of myself, what I can speak to for myself, I bring a lot of diverse experience to the table. I've worked in banking, I've worked in criminal justice, I've worked in higher education, and along the way, made a lot of contacts, made a lot of friends, as they say, that have taught me and provided me a wealth of experience that I could apply in areas that some others might not have. I'm bilingual. That enables me to communicate with a segment of the population that a lot of people may not be able to communicate with. From what I understand, the Hispanic population in the district is close to 20%. So being able to communicate to the Spanish-speaking population is a huge benefit coming from this position. There's something comforting about knowing people who are looking out for your children who also speak the language you speak, and I'm happy to provide that. My experiences working in higher education, seeing what the end game, everybody who's graduating from here wants to work, ideally, again, or wants to go to college. And having been in positions where I've mentored people coming into higher ed or going into career tech ed positions, I've had the opportunity and been blessed with the opportunity to provide them that mentorship and know which pathways will lead to success. And as such, I can strategize and help strategize on ways to continue that for incoming students and also reach students that might not see that success for themselves.
Just a couple of follow-ups. You said you were a school resource officer and then in law enforcement. Where were you in SRO?
I was an SRO with the Twin Rivers School District, and while I was there, I will say there were some challenges. I was an SRO there during COVID, and saw some very unique situations, and it taught me a lot of what not to do, so to speak. But it also showed me ways of reaching segments of the population that might feel that they don't have hope, might feel like they don't have those opportunities that I had mentioned.
Thank you for telling us that you're fluent in Spanish. It's funny. I'll just as anecdotally, we were in this room and I did not share that I am bilingual and I speak Spanish as well. And I was sitting at the end over here and we had someone who came in who was having a hard time speaking English, and I just started talking to them in Spanish, and everybody looked at me like, "What?" So you've now given that up. Now nobody will be surprised if you're selected as a board member. It was a funny surprise. I looked at them like, "What?" Did I forget to tell you that? Just I'll give you an opportunity to just wrap up. Tell us, just quickly, any final comments you have.
So, having young children and seeing some of the troubling events going on in our nation, and raising young children knowing that they're going to encounter all sorts of hardships brought on by some of these troubling events. In order to protect our children, my children, your children, the only way to do that, to protect, or not the only way, but to protect them best is to get involved, to be a voice for the values of the community. At the end of the day, no matter what demographic group we hail from, we all want the same things for our children. We want them to be safe. We want them to be happy. We want them to be educated. We want them to be successful. And if that remains our common goal, this is my goal, I believe we can achieve just about anything in spite of whatever differences that we have. And I seek harmony. I seek cooperation. And I believe with both we will continue the trend of success in this district, and I aim to be an integral part of that. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next is Debbie Leong. Debbie, welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Please begin whenever you're ready.
All right, great. Thank you for having me. And so I'll just go ahead and give a short speech about my interest and my background. So my name is Debbie Leong, and I've been a resident of Roseville for about 17 years. So I've raised my children here. I'm invested in the city and in the community and also in the schools that my children go to. So I have a incoming high school freshman this fall into Roseville High School. And I currently have a 10th grader, a sophomore, at Oakmont High School. So I have been involved with my children's education ever since they've been born. When they went to elementary school, I volunteered weekly at the school. I assisted with fundraisers and did everything I could to assist, including being on the site council. In middle school, they didn't need me as much. There were very few volunteer opportunities, but wherever I could, I would help out. And now in high school, there's even less opportunities, besides chaperoning a school dance. But my kids are involved in the school activities such as sports, so we are involved with that. So I don't attend board meetings. I've heard about the board meetings, but I try to be involved at home with my children. I saw there was a position, and I'm just here to help out if I can be of any assistance. I'm glad to see there were 11 candidates, so you have a choice. So that's great. In terms of what I can offer to the board, my background is that I'm an attorney, so I do commercial contracts for a large retailer. I negotiate technology contracts, and I think the 3 skills I have from that would help this position is, number one is I can balance risk. I work with business groups, I work within the legal department, I work with the vendor side, and I balance the risk of various departments and interests, and I try to come to a compromise so that we can finalize the agreement and close the deal. And hopefully it is a win-win for both parties. So I think that skill would be important here because you have students, parents, educators, the board, the districts, or their competing interests, but the eventual goal is what's best for our children. So that's the first skill from being an attorney. The second one is I'm very good at analyzing. I'm sure that you have a lot of complicated documents and nuances, so I think that I'm very good at that. The third thing is I'm very good at processing. So I have to make sure I process and that the contract reflects the agreement and the interests of the parties. So I'm very good at that. And the fourth reason that I think I'm good for the board is I'm new. So I have fresh eyes and fresh ears and fresh opinions. So I hope that that would be helpful to the board. I know that a lot of other people may have had a lot more experience with the board and other positions. I don't have that. That's the honest truth about it. But I have a commitment to my children and in the school and the education. And I hope to apply that to all the children in the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So I'm going to start with the questions. How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
So I don't know how I would reach out to the educators, the teachers. I don't know that I do that myself, or if you're talking through the board. And I don't know how the board works with the educators. So I can't answer that question fully. But I would assume that the board tries to work with the educators with the eventual purpose of meeting our children's needs.
Thanks for applying. What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed and changed without delay? And how would you as a trustee address this?
I'm not familiar with all the issues that the board addresses. So again, I don't have an answer to that. So I can't say there's something specifically that I would change. Could you repeat the first part of the question?
Yeah, something specific you think the district does well, exceptionally well, and something that needs to probably be addressed and changed, and how you as a trustee would work on that.
I think something that the district is doing well is it's taking into consideration all the different viewpoints to come up with an answer. Whether people agree with the answer or not, you're doing that well. You're trying to take different viewpoints, their competing interests. And I know that you guys are spending a lot of time and effort on that, and you're committed to it. So I think you're doing that well.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. As you know, we've got a pretty good sized group. I won't use the number this time. We've got a bunch of applicants. It's an inside joke. I've been messing up the numbers all night. Amongst the group, and you've sort of alluded to this, but I'd like you to focus just a bit closer for us. What do you believe makes you unique or stand out amongst the group of applicants?
If I was the first person here and I heard everybody, I might have a better answer compared to everybody else. I can only compare to myself. I think I'm excellent. And for the reasons that I stated, I don't like to be a boastful person, but I'm good at what I do. And I think that I could apply the same skills here.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any follow-up questions, so if you just take a minute and tell us, you just sort of wrap up and finish your comments if you'd like.
Okay, right. I'm just here for my kids and the kids in this district. And that's my only interest. I don't have any other competing interests. I don't work for the board or the school or anything like that. I'm just an interested parent. I'm only applying because I thought I could help. And if I can help, I'm happy to do so. If somebody else here is more qualified than me, please choose them. I want the best person to represent our children. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. You're free to stay here. You don't have to go back outside because now you've answered all the questions. That is okay. Thank you very much. I thought those were all rappers.
Not uncommon.
Andrea Zimmerman.
Hello,
How
my
are
name
you?
is Andrea Zimmerman, and I'd like to take a minute and just thank you for considering me for the open seat on the Board of Trustees. I love this community. I've lived here for 29 years, and I'm the mother of 6 children, and all of them graduated from this district. 3 from Oakmont, 2 from Granite Bay, and 1 from Wood Creek. I'm also a grandparent, and I'm trying to invest my time and efforts into assuring a continuance of high quality education for their future. I also love the Roseville Joint Union High School District because I've worked here as a teacher, administrator, and district office employee for over 20 years, retiring in 2018. Throughout my tenure, I was deeply involved in professional development, finding creative solutions to difficult problems, and working with school personnel and staff to make the best experiences possible for teachers, students, and parents alike. And since retiring, I'm still active in schools, but in a different way. I've been working with a mental health nonprofit organization called Wellness Together, whose mission it is to provide mental health services to schools. I work on special projects for them, including teaching mental health first aid classes, writing professional development, and working with school staff in need of conflict resolution. I've also been working with an interfaith council group, bridging religious organizations and supporting community outreach. I'm presently championing local community service efforts behind an initiative called Just Serve. Just Serve is an app and a website that matches local organizations with needs to willing volunteers. This effort has allowed me to engage with many amazing community services, including providing meals for the homeless, helping to organize kits for Afghan refugees relocating to Sacramento, providing personal hygiene kits to girls in Africa so that they don't have to miss school days, and many other projects. From this experience, I have learned how to engage our community proactively and effectively. This has required me to advocate in front of national and local media, as well as key stakeholders within our community. I have the ability to work with community partners to increase awareness and bring needed support for key community services. It has been also a great demonstration of how people with different thoughts and beliefs can come together to serve the community at large. And as I was considering my goals in retirement the last 4 years, I thought about how I might give back to my community, family, and friends. When the school board seat became available, I felt that I had many unique qualifications that would be valuable in furthering the community in this position. If I could pick 3 things for you to remember about me when considering me as a candidate, they would be: number 1, school experience. I've got that. I know how schools function and how to help students succeed. I have a comprehensive resume that includes a variety of positions within the district, and my breadth of experience and knowledge will help broaden and deepen perspectives. I have insights into the inner workings of high schools that will help with difficult issues and decisions that will come before the board. My time working within the district has taught me something: to listen. I will search out different opinions and look for ways to help students. In addition to my professional knowledge, being a parent and grandparent is right up there and will also help me in this position. I know kids, and I have seen kids struggle and succeed, and there is nothing I find more rewarding than helping a child find success and confidence in themselves, even in the most difficult circumstances. The second thing is I come to serve. My desire to be on the board is simply that: to serve. I come with no set agenda other than that I want to do what is best for kids, families, and teachers in the district. This has always been my passion and motivation. That's why I went into education. And I have been serving that ambition and passion for over 30 years. I'm a great collaborator and team player, and I'm skilled at developing consensus and wrestling with difficult issues. What I bring to the table is that I want to do what is best for the community. I value people. I don't always have to be right, but I try to do what is right. And as an administrator, I frequently would work with families in situations that were challenging. And at times, parents and families would disagree with school policies and other particular issues. But I learned how important it is to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, and that solutions are collaborative and creative, and that relationships are vital to overcoming difficulties in the best possible way. The third thing I want you to remember about me is that I'm inclusive. If you choose me, I will have an open door to anyone who would like to share ideas or concerns. I will come prepared to meetings, including putting in the time to know the issues. I will ask questions and consider all points of view. I recently testified before the state legislature about the need for increased training in schools for mental health first aid. And I was able to connect with a variety of groups as we worked on this important issue. including the California Department of Education, the National Council on Behavioral Health, as well as other local groups. And in discussing different points of view, we found that the bill needed correction. And in order to accurately meet the needs across the state, it didn't pass. And we are currently revising the bill, and we'll be working closely with these groups to discuss how this important work can best move forward. A former board member told me, it takes courage to be on the board. And I'd like to thank you for your service and your courage to be on the board. It does take courage. But I want to state that I am up to the challenge. Again, school background, I come to serve, and I'm inclusive. And I will do my best to do what will benefit kids the most. I have no preconceived agenda. I have no political aspirations, and I don't represent any specific faction. But rather, I would be a thoughtful collaborator and do what I can to add to this team. An old proverb states that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And it's my hope that I can help our district build on its strengths and continue to go further to provide and continue to provide the excellent education for our children and grandchildren. I would be honored to serve alongside you, and I hope that I will be given this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Right. I'm going to start with a question
Sure.
for you. How do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
Good question. I think that supporting teachers is invaluable. We need to do it. We need to listen to their concerns, help them understand what the law and the policies are, and how we can best maybe work collaboratively to meet their needs, their concerns to the best solution. And sometimes that's difficult. But I think when we are able to discuss those problems and bring everyone to the table and everyone feels heard, that at least we understand each other's perspective. And when we are able to meet consensus or come to a consensus, that's when things really happen. And so I hope that that's how we can best support our teachers, is by listening to them.
Thanks for applying. What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed and changed without delay? And how would you as a trustee address this?
Well, I think our staff and the quality of education that we provide is exemplary. It makes us one of the best in the state. It's what makes people want to move here. They want to have their children in our district because it's fantastic. But we need help. You know, with managing the post-COVID landscape is so daunting. I mean, we have kids with severe gaps. We have kids that need mental health services. We have staff that need mental health services. And that's one of the reasons after my career as in the district that I really wanted to be an advocate for mental health services in schools. I think it's hugely needed. It's hugely needed to be expanded, not only for students, but for staff as well. Because that's how we can support them, is to meet them where they're at and help them with their needs. So I think that's one of the things I would like to champion for sure.
Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight, or to this afternoon.
Night.
Feels like not an omen.
It feels. I've been preparing myself all day for being here. As you know, we've got a large group of candidates for a small group of positions, namely one. And I think you've hit on this in your question, but I'd like you to try and focus it just a little bit. Amongst the crowd here, what do you think makes you unique or stand out particularly?
Well, I would have to go back to my background. You know, I worked at the district office as a professional development specialist. And in that capacity, I did things like helped create goals for the board and the school district. And from just a complete mission statement to actually looking at what we could accomplish within a year or within 5 years. And I think that was a huge benefit to help focusing all these disparate groups into we can't do everything, but we can do something. And you know what the qualification is if we can agree what it is. And I think that background is huge. And that I think the thing that makes me different is that one of the questions that I think was on the application was, what initiatives have you been involved in schools? Every one of them since 2004. And I can give you background on every single one of them. So, because I was involved in them. And I think it's what has helped us be great and will continue to help us be great. And I think that background makes me uniquely qualified for that. And I know that some people feel like they don't, there's educators in the room. We don't need more educators on the board. But even though I've been in education and that was my career, I'm still a parent. I'm still a grandparent. I still represent my neighbors and friends in the Granite Bay community. And so I really feel like that just is an added bonus because I have such a broad and deep background in all of these issues that I think I am uniquely qualified to help the board stay great and achieve all kinds of amazing things.
Then one final question. If you were to get this appointment, do you have plans on running for the position that is open in November?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for applying. I don't have any follow-up questions, but I just wanted to give you a moment just to sort of wrap up and give us any final thoughts, and then, anything that maybe you wish you were asked that you weren't, or any final thoughts you may have.
Just that I know that it has been expressed that they didn't want to have somebody apply from the Section 4 of Granite Bay, but I hope that you would consider the best person for the job that will really help meet our needs and also be an asset to the team that'll bring a lot of wealth and knowledge to the table that's going to help things move forward. And that I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart, the very first thing is my student-centeredness. That is why I went into education. That's my passion. That's my motive. And that I'm a hard worker. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. In the interest of full disclosure, I've been on the board 18 years and I didn't interact with Andrea a lot. Did not interact with her a lot, but did some, a little bit. So just for full disclosure. You're welcome to stay. You do not have to leave, but this is not Cuba. You're welcome to leave if you'd like to. So.
We're going to keep hearing the Cuba joke.
I know, you know what? I just keep recycling that Cuba joke over and over. Works it kills every time.
But we corrected Pete on the 15th. Yeah. And it's not nighttime yet.
Okay.
11, 12, 18,
Brooke.
whatever.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time this afternoon, especially spring break Friday. Thank you, other candidates. It's been a long one. A little bit about me. I'm a wife, mom of 4 kids in Roseville, one in West Park and then one at Chilton. And then I have 2 elementary school kids, triathlete runner. I lead education around body positivity and running in young women, avid reader and active feminist. I currently am the co-founder and CEO of a 7-figure small business in fertility space. Before that, I have a professional background in managing HR for a Fortune 500 and then also a nonprofit prior to that job. I sit on boards for women in small business. I am a former PTO president and I speak internationally around fertility, surrogacy, and egg freezing. I wanted to talk today about what has been happening and a little bit about what I think we should be doing as the board. Aristotle said, "The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet." So currently, in lieu of the pandemic, increased political tensions, low morale within educators, and stalled and struggling kiddos, it feels like there's a lot of bitter that isn't translating well into kids reaping the benefit of the sweet fruit. As a board, I think it's important we move forward to have a balanced group of people that best represent our diverse Roseville population. We need to look for ways to mend our community and to build back trust with our educators and administrators. We need to rely on the experts that surround us to help us guide policy and impose change. We need to do better. I have a sophomore at West Park, and I asked her what the hardest thing about being a high school student is right now. I fully expected that she was going to answer something related to social pitfalls. However, in a heartbreaking insight, she said it was seeing how much the teachers did not want to teach. She felt like they wanted new jobs and they didn't love the subjects they were teaching anymore. While devastating, I can see where low morale, constant change, little support, and global pandemic would send educators running. What a challenging and stressful task they've been burdened with. These educators are shaping our young minds of our students, 10,000 students at 6 high schools, 2 continuations, and an adult school, and it's important for the board to understand the needs of both students and staff. I stand here today as a seeker of change, a mom of 4 who wants to support our kids, our administrators, our staff, and our teachers. I know that with a diversified board of beliefs, talents, strengths, Roseville Unified, Joint Unified can return to a place of positive change and a beacon for surrounding districts in the Sacramento area.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Heidi.
All right, we just have a couple questions. So how do you see yourself reaching out to and supporting our teachers and the vital role they play in educating our students as they carry out the educational directives of the state and the district?
I think this is a vital piece of what we're not dealing with right now. I think it is important to be talking to administrators and educators and figuring out how we can best bring everybody to the table. Everybody wants to support students, educators, board, superintendent, parents, and the kids themselves. But if we exclude people instead of include people, we are not going to get to the place that we want to. We are going to be divided. We are going to be fractionalized. And in having a board that is homogeneous, one kind of people, that does not serve the population of Roseville. Roseville is diverse in population, and we need to have a bunch of people with a bunch of different ideas that can bring that to the table and talk to people and meet them where they're at, as opposed to making decisions that support only one part of our community.
What is something specific you think the district does exceptionally well and something that should be addressed or changed without delay? And how would you as a trustee do this?
I have all 4 of my kids are very unique, but I have a unique perspective. One of my kiddos has really, really struggled with mental health, and she is my high schooler, and we have received such wonderful support at West Park, especially as she was the entering first class at West Park and got in there, and they were trying to figure things out. They came out of a pandemic. They were trying to figure out how to get books at the same time as support their students. They had all new teachers, and they had a sophomore and freshman class. And so I think there are a ton of good resources in Roseville, and I think that those right now are being overlooked, and there's not a lot of people shining light on the really good things that are happening in Roseville schools. And I would love to bring positivity back to those things, because there is a bunch of great community out there that have supported our kids.
Thank you. Hello there.
Hi.
As you know, we have a significant sized group of people here. I've been told it's 11, though I've said it's 15.
Feels like
twice.
20.
Yes. Amongst those candidates, I don't know if you had a chance to look at all the applications, but everyone's pretty well qualified, and I think everyone would make a great board member. What makes you unique or stand out amongst the crowd that you think we should be aware of?
I think a couple of things. So in my professional life, I sit in boardrooms a lot. I sit on boards, and I speak to diverse populations of people who may not all come together for the same reasons. So I think from a business standpoint, that makes me unique, although I don't know other people's qualifications in that realm. But I also do think that I am unique in that I have different perspectives that represent both students and teachers. And I want to bring everybody to the table to be able to have better discussions around how to move forward from this point.
Thank you very much. And I don't have any follow-up questions because you answered one of the follow-up questions I had from your application, but just take a moment if you would and just wrap up and give us any final thoughts you may have.
I am appreciative to be heard today, and I do think that there is a path forward. We can best support everybody in our Roseville communities, especially our high school students, their parents, and our staff, our administration, our superintendent, and our teachers. I think that we really have to hold ourselves as a board accountable to do those things and to make some pretty significant changes to get everybody's trust back to where it used to be and be able to move forward in a positive way.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That concludes the interviews of all of the candidates. I do want to thank all of the candidates for having the courage to apply, to step forward, and to say, "Hey, look, if called, I will serve, and if selected, I'm in." We really appreciate the willingness to serve and to take the time and to come here and and bury your soul here in front of us about education and kids. So thank you very much. Board members, what are your thoughts? I have an idea if no one has one, but it's just a thought.
Ready to hear it.
Well, my thought was we've got a long list of candidates and we need to maybe narrow it down some way. So what I was thinking is maybe if we take one of these forms with everybody's name on it and we just consider who you want, each person can, and again the number is open, you can pick 2, 3, or 4 people, but I mean everybody should pick the same number. Let's see if there's maybe some separation so we can maybe just whittle the number down a little bit. There's nothing set in stone about it, but if anyone else has some thoughts, I'm all ears.
I'm not sure I understand the form, to be honest with you.
This form?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would concur that maybe we each pick a certain number and we see how many common names there are and we move forward from there. Whether that number is 2, 3, 5, I don't know if that's important. Other than, well, I was suggesting 15, but I think maybe given that there's 4 of us, maybe if we started with 4, we might get some overlap, or unless you think we need to go to 5 to get overlap. And I think that anybody who gets, 3 or more goes on to the next discussion round or something like that. That would be, I think, probably the easiest way. The question is, how many do we need to pick to get a common number?
Yeah.
3 or more to get there.
I would say try 4. I like 4 as well. And if we don't have any common backwards though, then if we try to add, I don't know.
Well,
I like 4.
We can look. We can see if there's sort of maybe a breaking point. And when I say breaking point, I mean if there's a difference between those that get some, and maybe that number isn't 4, or maybe that number isn't 3 votes per person or so. I don't know. But why don't we do that? Let's pick 4 each. Take a moment, pick your 4, and then we'll talk in a minute.
Can I make maybe a foundational comment? Because I know my views have come up a lot in people's comments. So I just think it's important for me to articulate those. We have, I've been on record clearly saying that I don't believe that we as a board should choose anyone from Area 4. And I want to explain that very clearly. We recently moved to by-trustee areas. And one of the fundamental purposes of going to trustee areas is so that the people who live in an area have the ability to choose the person that they think best represents them. Now, tonight we have, by my count, 5 very well qualified people who all performed very well in their interviews, who all live in that area. It's 101 days away from the official campaign pulling your papers get drawn. where you can go and file for office. But as we know, there are people running for offices in November that are already actively campaigning. So essentially, if someone were to get appointed today from that position, they would immediately start a campaign for an election in November. If we make a decision from that area, we are essentially putting this board's thumb on the scale, because I should use the thumb if I'm going to say that, putting our thumb on the scale and giving more weight to one candidate when they run in that election. And that is antithetical to the purpose of going to by-trustee area elections. So I don't think we should have a role in tipping the scales one way or another. I can tell you I would vote for any one of those 5 people. But I don't think it's right at this point because we are so close to the campaign and so close to the election. If this were 6 or 8, 12 months ago, it would be different because that person would have an opportunity to be on the board and be seen for what they're doing, and the public would have an opportunity to evaluate their performance. But I think we give an undue advantage without the ability of giving the public a chance to see in that role. So I just wanted to say that to make it really clear why I believe that. And for what it's worth, I'm only one vote, but that's where I clearly fall on the issue.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other comments, thoughts before we?
Were you wanting us to take this paper and then basically rank or circle for?
Yeah, well, you're gonna have, we can't have a secret ballot as public. So I don't care if you circle or whatever, you'll announce your 4, and it doesn't have to be in any particular order. Right?
I would suggest we just use an individual sheet for each one, and we
Yeah,
put
that
like
works.
a 1 on the top for round 1, because they do have to be official record, and then we're done. We hand them to Barbara so that we have the record. I think that just creates a clear.
That's good. I like it.
Thing. So did we decide on 4 or 5? What's the number we're going to try for?
I would say 4.
4?
Dude, your screensaver is making me hungry.
Yeah, me too. I just keep looking at dinner, you guys. So that's how I motivate myself, you know. Like if you're running, you just keep running towards the meat. So, all right.
So to clarify, sorry,
Put 4 names.
we put 4 names, and do we put our name on this?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, these do not have to be in any particular. This is not like ranking.
Yeah.
This is just your top 4, whichever. 4
And I would
you want.
say up to 4, because you don't have to, you're not compelled to do 4. But
Right. Hang on one second.
I'm
Yeah.
still contemplating here.
Okay. All right. No, we'll read them, and then I'll and Barbara can do this also, but I'll just keep tabs on how many each person
You want a
gets.
clean one? Hasn't been used?
Oh, I got
I have a couple.
I got a
of them
couple.
over here.
Yeah, I got a
Okay.
couple right here. I got one right here. Thank you. Okay. Why don't we start, Pete, and then we'll go this way.
All right. Jason Walker, Nathan Matthew, Debbie Leon.
Okay. I have Marla Franz, Robert Jameson, Andrea Zimmerman, and Michelle Stansberry.
Marla Franz, Robert Jameson, Brian Richter, and Jonathan Zackerson.
I have Marla Franz, Jason Walker, Michelle Stansberry, Jonathan Zackerson.
Okay.
Again, Mark. Marla Franz, Robert Jameson, Brian Richter, and Jonathan Zackerson.
Got two or more, we go to a next sort of ballot.
Mine are Marla, Jason, Michelle, Jonathan.
Okay, so Marla has 3 total. Robert Jameson has 2 total. Michelle Stansberry has 2 total. Jason Walker has 2 total. Jonathan Zackerson has 2 total. Debbie Leong 1, Nathan Matthew 1, Brian Richter 1, and Andrea Zimmerman 1.
Suggestion would be of those that got 2 or 3, we do another round.
Okay.
But
Can you
can you
say them
repeat
again?
all those
Yeah.
for me?
What's that?
So those are the numbers, and you were saying we should, you want to stick with those that got 2 or more?
I would suggest we do that and everyone choose one, and if one person gets 3, that's the appointment. If not, we take the highest 2 and go one more round and go from there. So you just kind of keep narrowing it.
Go with the one that has 3 right now.
Because people were, this isn't ranked choice voting. If we had ranked choiced them, then that would go, but people got multiple votes, so it doesn't recognize first or seconds. Had we set it up as a ranked choice vote, that would have worked.
Well, why don't we do, I'm okay doing either one of those. If you want to do another round, we can do another round. I'm happy doing that. If you want to, if someone wants to make a motion, we do that. I'm flexible either way.
What if we just pick one?
That's what
That's what
how
you
his
think.
voice was.
We could just
Yeah.
pick one?
Yeah.
We go through one more time and just pick one
Because that would essentially.
From
rank
just
them.
those,
from just this list here.
grab another sheet of your paper. Brick 2 on top. We have to read it out.
It's tough.
Yep. We start again?
Go ahead.
Walker,
Hang on, wait, let me get a fresh piece of paper.
new one right here.
I got one. Yep,
Okay.
I got one. This is number 2. Okay, Walker. I wrote Jameson.
France.
Franz.
Okay. In lieu of that, Marla Franz she's got 2, Robert Jameson 1, Jason Walker 1.
Take a vote.
Anyone want to do a motion?
I'll move to appoint Marla Franz.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Yes. Pete Constant,
No.
Heidi Hall,
Yes.
Julie Hirota,
Yes.
Scott Huber.
Yes. Where is she?
She not here?
And it starts
probably
already,
figured
man.
we would
Somewhere
take a
she's
long
got to go.
We're gonna swear in.
We don't have to, but we can if she's available.
Because the action is an appointment.
Yeah, she can. Marla. It is my pleasure to inform you that while you were out, you were conscripted for service for the Roseville Joint Union High School District School Board.
Don't sit down. You have to step up and be sworn in.
We're gonna swear you in.
Start now.
And as they say,
Ready to make your $20.
Watch this thing right here for the camera. Here you go. Are you ready? Yes. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name. I solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, foreign and domestic.
All enemies foreign.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California. That I take this obligation freely, reservation,
Without any mental restriction.
Martha, there is some paperwork we have to do. You gotta sign this thing. Okay? And I will tell you the public agency lawyer in me, wants to remind you will have to fill out a Form 700 for the FPPC. You are now under the obligations of the Brown Act. And all of the joy that it entails. That is just fine. We and I know from some discussions that I've heard about that we have a better onboarding process than when the last round of new board members came about. So
Meaning we have one.
meaning we have one. So congratulations. Let's finish our housekeeping here. That was item 5.1 on the agenda. Please,
Wait,
yeah.
hey, you
Please,
gotta
please,
come
please.
sit up here. You're a board member.
You are a board member. You get it.
Work. You get $20 for the sit down. Yeah. One action.
I just wanted to thank everyone who took the time to participate, go through the application process, get everything in on time. Think about the answers. We read all of them. And being committed to this district and what it means to run a good district. I hope all of you stay involved and find others to stay involved, because I think us as a board has gotten better because of you. And we'll continue to do well and to do better the more input and more participation that we get. And, one of the things I was looking for is how to be a better trustee and who would be up here to help me be a better trustee. And so thank you all. I'm a better trustee because of all of you. So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Marla?
So hang on, let me do some
Oh.
housekeeping. We're going to skip item 6.1 and 2, pending agendas. Board member comments.
that's
You've already done?
That was
Go
okay.
ahead.
I have to say that when we started this process, one, I had no idea how it was going to go, but I was honestly worried that no one would apply. That was my greatest fear, was that who's going to watch the last couple years of us being yelled at? I mean, the things that we've all personally gone through, I'm like, who's going to want to sign up to do this? No one. And when 11 people applied and they were all excellent candidates, I honestly was blown away. And it helped me really realize why our district is as strong as it is. And I love what Michelle said about parents have been nudged. I wrote that down because I was just like you. I'd never been to a board meeting and felt like I had no idea what I was coming into, but I feel like parents have been nudged forever. And to see all of you apply and put your time in, I agree with what Pete said as well. Like, I would vote for all of you. You all were excellent in different ways and had different strengths. So I hope that you all continue on and run in the future and come to meetings. And I feel like you all will. I met with lots of you ahead of time and had great dialogues. And I just was really encouraged by everyone's passion and interest. And I teared up a little and cried during Marla. So because I felt all of that so real. And so that's why I chose her, but I liked all of you. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. Pete.
Thanks. I meant what I said about all the candidates. We had some incredible applicants. I encourage all of you to consider running for either this board or the elementary school district board in the area that you live, because we need more people who have the best interests of education in mind. There's a lot of work to be done, and as you know, this board here is we tend to push the envelope a little bit, and when we do, it's because we have the best interests of our community, our big community, which includes everybody, the kids, the parents, the teachers, everybody, and that's important. So I know it stinks when you don't get appointed, so sorry for all that, but it's we're happy you did it, because I too was surprised at the number we had. In fact, I thought it was 15. So just get out there and keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate it, and welcome. You get
I first just have to thank you for, and I am here because I admired how you've actually worked through the last 2 years, and I wanted to join you. I appreciate the community and the parents, and I feel very humble and appreciative, and I want to serve my community well, and I want our students to be successful, and I will do my best to follow through with that. Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. And we have great opportunities for involvement. So don't feel like, we still want you, and we have staff that have business cards. We'd be happy to connect, whether you're a current parent or a community member. We have industry sector advisory groups for all of our career technical education. So lots of ways to engage, and please do consider doing that.
Just echo that, and thank you for everyone who applied and showed interest in being on the district board. And welcome to Marla, and I look forward to working with you.
Just a bit of housekeeping. Did everybody turn these in? You
Yeah.
handed them over? Okay.
Mhm.
Did I hand them over? They're in my stack
right
here.
there.
Okay, here we go. I don't know. I just want to make sure that Barbara gets it. Here we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Welcome to the board. I've said this before that I try to do the best that I can, and in one instance I failed here in that we had talked previously, and Pete gently reminded me about this the other day in an email, but There were 11 applicants, and we had decided if we were going to have 10, that we would meet and talk about what we were going to do. And in meeting, I thought, well, 11 and one more than 10, let's just interview them all. So my apologies to my board members for not following through with what I had previously said I was going to do on that. But it worked out. We've got a board member. It was, again, this process is always a little weird. This is the third time I've had to go through it. 4 if you include the time that I was standing behind that podium. And it's always a little weird because you're talking about people right in front of them. And, I do want to thank all of the candidates genuinely for applying. I will echo what Pete said. I could have affirmatively voted for any one of you and would have been happy to do so. I will say again, it is an honor to serve amongst all of you. And I am proud to say I'm part of the Roseville Joint Union High School District. We're not perfect, but we're better than most. And I'll take our troubles any day of the week, and I'll gladly leave others with theirs. I wouldn't swap. But thank you very much. I appreciate, again, working alongside all of you. I appreciate how you, I just appreciate all of you. So thank you very much. We will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 4:52. Meeting adjourned. Thank you for coming.